rare plants of the immense collection made in the time of the Spanish government, when great progress was made in all the natural sciences, $400,000 having been expended in botanical expeditions alone. Courses of botanical lectures were then given annually by the most learned professors, and the taste for natural history was universal. El árbol de las manitas, the tree of the small hands, was the most curious which we saw in the garden. The flower is of a bright scarlet, in the form of a hand with 5 fingers and a thumb, and it is said that there are only 3 of these trees in the republic. The gardener is an old Italian, who came over with one of the viceroys, and though now 110 years old, and nearly bent double, possesses all his faculties. The garden is pretty from the age of the trees and luxuriance of the flowers, but melancholy as a proof of the decay of the science in Mexico. The palace itself, now occupied by the president, formerly belonged to Cortes, and was ceded by his descendants to the government. In exchange they received the ground formerly occupied by the palace of the Aztec kings, and built on it a very splendid edifice, where the state archives are kept, and where the Monte Pio, the office where money is lent on plate, jewels, etc., now is, the director of which is Don Francisco Tagle, whose apartments within the building are very elegant and spacious. The museum within the university, and opposite the palace in the plaza called del Volador, contains many rare and valuable works, many curious Indian antiquities, but they are ill arranged. On the walls are the portraits of the vice kings, beginning with Hernan Cortes. We spent a long while here examining these antiquities, but we have seen nothing in Mexico to equal the beauty of the colossal equestrian statue in bronze of Charles IV, placed on a pedestal of Mexican marble, which stands in the court of the university, but formerly adorned the middle of the square. It is a magnificent picture of sculpture, the masterpiece of Tolosa, remarkable for the noble simplicity and purity of its style, and was made at the expense of an ex-viceroy, the Marquis of Branciforte. We also saw the goddess of war lying in a corner of the court, beside the stone of sacrifices which we had already been shown. Today we have been visiting the Academy of Painting and Sculpture, called the Academy of Fine Arts, of which I unfortunately recollected having read Humboldt's brilliant account, in my forcibly prolonged studies on board the Jason, and that he mentions its having had the most favourable influence in forming the national taste. He tells us that every night in these spacious halls, well illumined by argand lamps, hundreds of young men were assembled, some sketching from the plaster casts or from life, and others copying designs of furniture, candelabras, and other bronze ornaments, and that here all classes, colours, and races were mingled together, the Indian beside the white boy, and the son of the poorest mechanic beside that of the richest lord. Teaching was gratis, and not limited to landscape and figures, one of the principal objects being to propagate amongst the artists a general taste for elegance and beauty of form, and to enliven the national industry. Plaster casts to the amount of $40,000 were sent out by the King of Spain, and as they possess in the Academy various colossal statues of basalt and porphyry, with Aztec hieroglyphics, it would have been curious, as the same learned traveller remarks, to have collected these monuments in the courtyard of the Academy, and compared the remains of Mexican sculpture, monuments of a semi-barbarous people, with the graceful creations of Greece and Rome. Let no one visit the Academy with these recollections or anticipations in his mind, that the simple and noble taste which distinguishes the Mexican buildings, their perfection in the cutting and working of their stones, the chaste ornaments of the capitals and relievos, are owing to the progress they made in this very Academy, is no doubt the case. The remains of these beautiful but mutilated plaster casts, the splendid engravings which still exist, would alone make it probable, but the present disorder, the abandoned state of the building, the non-existence of these excellent classes of sculpture and painting, and above all, the low state of the fine arts in Mexico at the present day, are amongst the sad proofs, if any were wanting, of the melancholy effects produced by years of civil war and unsettled government. The Holy Week is now approaching, and already Indians are to be seen bringing in the palm branches and the flowers for the altars, and they are beginning to erect booths and temporary shops, and to make every preparation for the concourse of people who will arrive next Sunday from all the different villages and ranchos, far and near. End of letter the 13th.